A nation devastated by a pandemic, more than 225,000 dead.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
Social injustice and unrest across the country also dominating the political debate.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
He did such harm to the black community, and he called them super predators.
Control of the Senate also at stake, along with key congressional races here on Long Island. The political climate triggering a tidal wave of voters flooding into polling places in what may be the most important election in a lifetime. Welcome to Newsday's special election coverage. I'm Jessie. The polls on Long Island and across New York are now closed, and throughout the night, we'll be bringing you the results in the key races as they come in, as well as in-depth analysis from Newsday's team of political experts. It's information and perspective you won't get anywhere else. The marquee matchup this election day, President Trump versus Joe Biden, the president trying to win another 4 years in office, even though recent polls have shown him trailing the former vice president. Earlier today, President Trump paid a visit to the Republican National Committee headquarters in Virginia. He spoke about the possibility of coming up short in this election.
Winning is easy. Losing is never easy. Not for me, it's not. But I think we have, when you see rallies, the likes of which in the history of this country, probably in the history of the world, nobody's ever seen before. There's a tremendous love going on in this country, and there's really a tremendous unity.
Rousing welcome during a last-minute campaign stop in Philadelphia.
I promise you this, although I'm running as a proud Democrat, if you elect me, I'm going to be an American president. There's going to be no red states or blue states, just the United States of America.
Right now, the Democratic Party has control of the House. They have a 232 to 197 majority. Now, Republicans are hoping to cut into that majority, but they're not expected to regain control. At the same time, Democrats are hoping to seize control of the Senate. With victories in a few key races, they could push Republicans out of power. Right now, the GOP holds a 53 to 45 majority, with 2 independents who caucus with Democrats. The X factor this election year, the record number of mail-in votes and people who cast their ballots early. Many of those people standing in line for hours to make their voices heard in what has been called a polarizing presidential campaign. We're also closely watching the hot races right here on Long Island. One race in the spotlight is for New York's 2nd Congressional District. Democrat Jackie Gordon is hoping to turn the district blue, while Republican Andrew Garbarino is hoping to keep it under GOP control. They're fighting for a seat being vacated by longtime Congressman Peter King, who is retiring. In the 1st Congressional District, incumbent Republican Lee Zeldin is trying to fend off a challenge from political newcomer, that's Democrat Nancy Goroff. The Democratic Party has been spending big to support first-term state senators like Monica Martinez, but Republican Alexis Wyke is trying to unseat the incumbent in the 3rd State Senate District. Another important state Senate race is between Democrat Laura Ahern and Republican Assemblyman Anthony Palumbo. They're jockeying for a seat in the 1st District being vacated by Republican Kenneth Laval, who's retiring after serving 4 decades in Albany. Joining us now to discuss all these hot races, Newsday's team of political experts. Let's give a warm welcome to columnist Joy Brown, White House correspondent Laura Figueroa Hernandez, and Albany Bureau Chief Yancey Roy, all joining us from a socially distanced set because it's a very different year. Laura, we want to start with you. You're a White House correspondent, usually down there in Washington. You've come up to join us tonight in our hub. Talk to us a little bit about what you're hearing from the Trump and Biden campaigns this evening.
Well, happy election night to everybody. What we're hearing is what we've heard from the candidates earlier today, and it boils down to Florida, Florida, Florida. Earlier today, Vice President Joe Biden was in his childhood home in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he was asked, what would make you feel confident early in the night? And he said Florida. If Florida goes our way early in the night, even by just 1 point, then it's done, then it's over. But as election results are coming in tonight, we're seeing that it's looking favorable for President Trump. And President Trump and his campaign advisors have been celebrating on Twitter the numbers coming out of Florida. They think that with Florida in their column that they definitely have a path to victory. So we'll see how things proceed for the rest of the night, and exciting times for our country.
Fun fact, that's my home state of Florida. Got to check in there. So next we're going to turn to Yancey. You're usually up in Albany. You're joining us down here in our hub. Let's talk about these down ballot races because Long Island is very purple.
That's right. New York is a solidly blue Democratic state when it comes to voting for president. But Long Island especially is a mix of red and blue and the most purple region, if you will, of the entire state. And so we're seeing key battles for Congress, State Assembly, and State Senate. You referred to Lee Zeldin. You referred to Garbarino and Gordon. Those are two seats where the Republicans are playing defense. But in the state Senate, they're trying to play a little bit of offense. They are going after 3 freshman Democratic senators on Long Island, and they've been spending big. So keep your eyes on the incumbent Democrats, Monica Martinez, Jim Gorin, and Kevin Thomas. They all were part of the freshman class that came in 2018, a part of a blue wave of Democrats. And the question is here, is that a wave that's here to stay? And can Biden's coattails, he's expected to win here in New York, can his coattails bring along all of these legislative and congressional candidates with him? Now, one other thing to keep in mind, absentee ballots. The latest numbers this morning from the county boards of election on the island say that hundreds of thousands of people have submitted absentee ballots. And one thing to note is about 130,000 from Democrats and only about 60,000 from Republicans. So whatever numbers you see tonight at the polling booths, those might change when the paper ballots are opened later in the process.
Thank you so much for noting that, Yancey, because I mean, this is a very different election year. Joy, that brings me to my final question with you. We're in the middle of a pandemic, right? How is the pandemic shaping this election year?
You said the pandemic made a lot of Long Islanders request those absentee ballots, but everything that's been going on Long Island and in the nation has propelled a number of those people to go ahead to the polls and vote anyway. And in New York, that's perfectly fine. You can send in an absentee ballot, go to the polls and vote. And what they'll do at the Board of Elections is they'll pull your absentee ballot, and what you did in person will count. What's interesting here is that Long Island is trending as the rest of the nation is trending in terms of the number of people coming out to vote. Looks like this will be a record breaker for Long Island compared to 2016. In Nassau County, as of earlier this evening, and these numbers are already old, but it gives you a trend, some 660,000 Nassau County residents had cast ballots either today in early voting or by absentees. That was 10,000 votes beyond all of 2019. If you take a look at Suffolk, again, early in the afternoon, the number there was almost 590,000 Suffolk County residents had cast votes either in person today, and again, early, these numbers are going to change, absentees or early voting. Record-breaking numbers. We're well ahead of 2016 already, and the night is still young, and we've still got all those absentee ballots to count.
The night is still young. Well, thank you all so much for contributing. We're going to check in with them throughout the evening, but first we're going to walk through those numbers.